It was late. Natalie sat in her cramped apartment, the only light coming from the flickering glow of her phone. She was tired from a long day at work, but she couldn't sleep yet. Her phone buzzed, an unknown number flashing on the screen. She hesitated for a moment. The number wasn't familiar, but she answered anyway. "Hello?" Natalie said, trying to hide the fatigue in her voice. There was silence on the other end. At first, she thought it might be a wrong number, but then she heard a faint, soft breathing, almost like someone was holding the phone too close to their mouth. "Hello?" Natalie repeated, her heart beginning to race. Suddenly, a raspy voice whispered, "I can see you." Natalie's blood ran cold. She froze, gripping the phone harder. She looked around her small apartment. The lights were on, and there were no open windows. She was alone. She tried to laugh it off, telling herself it was just a prank. But something about the voice sent a chill down her spine. "You're not alone, Natalie." The voice continued, now clearer, more confident. "I've been watching you for days." Her stomach churned. Her hands trembled as she glanced at the locked door. Was it a prank, a sick joke, or something more sinister? "What do you want?" Natalie managed to ask, her voice barely a whisper. "I want you to listen carefully," the voice said. "I'm closer than you think." Natalie's pulse raced. She stood up, her eyes scanning the dark corners of the room. She grabbed her keys from the counter and moved cautiously toward the door. Then it happened. The lights flickered off. Everything went black. The voice spoke again, now sounding much closer, almost in her ear. "I'm right outside." Panic surged through her. Her hand fumbled for the light switch, but the darkness consumed her, thick and suffocating. Then another sound, soft, like a tapping, came from the other side of the door. Tap, tap, tap. It was slow, deliberate. A whisper followed, almost like a giggle. She backed away from the door, her breath coming in short gasps. She tried to call the police, but the screen of her phone was blank. The call had ended, but the chill remained. Suddenly, the door creaked open, just a crack. In the dark doorway stood a figure. It was tall, thin, its face hidden in shadows. And the voice, that same voice, whispered one final time, "I told you I was close." Before she could scream, the figure lunged. The next morning, when the landlord arrived to check on her, all he found was her phone abandoned on the floor. There was no sign of Natalie, no trace, except for one thing, a single, faded handprint on the inside of the door, a handprint that wasn't hers.